Okay, thank you very, very much, Steve, and of course Debbie, because they run a super successful business together. And I think that obviously is the key to everything, isn't it? It's together. Together we all achieve more. The last speaker today really doesn't need an introduction. There'll be only those who perhaps have either not been in the business terribly long, or maybe those who are looking at the business. But of course John Hawkes is so well known and so well loved in the business. And I think everybody was so delighted he got Distributor of the Year, himself and Jeanette. It was just so well deserved. Everybody loved it. What was John though? He was an ex-chemical engineer, hotelier, and also had restaurants. He joined in February 93 even. He had been 20 years self-employed, and he needed an extra £1,000 a month just to balance his books. His silver premier, or I got the executive cup in 1997. He's had too many conferences to remember, and he's just he's a superman, and he's got loads of information, and will take the time to give us all of it. So please welcome John Hawkes.
TVs, deep freezing David Bowie LPs, pool games, gold chains, what's the names and adipus, and Trevor Francis track suits from a mush and shepherd's bush, no income tax, no VAT, no money back, no guarantee, black or white, or rich or poor, we'll cut prices at a straw.
Hi everybody, how we doing? All right? Yeah, that's brilliant. I've got a plan of what I'm supposed to talk about, but when you've listened to 3 or 4 speakers as we have today, it throws you a bit because they always bring something up you feel you've got to mention. And am I on? Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Okay, I mean, the first thing that struck me, Michael was saying, everybody can remember what they did 10 years ago. Okay? Now, and every speaker has said, you've got to be consistent. Now, I tell you what, there isn't anybody in this business who's been more consistent than me. Okay? How do I know? Because when Michael says, what were you doing 10 years ago, I think, yeah, I know. I was drinking red wine in South Africa. And then he said, what about 11 years ago? Yeah, that was South Africa as well, and I was drinking red wine. And 12 years ago, it was in Cairns, and I was drinking red wine. And 13 years ago, it was in Bangkok, and I was drinking red wine. And 14 years ago, it was Florida, and I was doing the same thing. And 15 years ago, it was Bali, and I was doing the same thing. You can't get more consistent than that. Okay? Right, yeah. The other thing you're very frequently told in this business is that you have to walk, if you like, in your sponsor's shoes. You have to walk in your sponsor's shoes. And, you know, I sort of took that literally, really, because I didn't really understand it at the time, right early on in my business. So one day, I nicked her gold-studded shoes, high heels, Lynn McDonald's, and I danced in them, right? Right?
Yes, and I'm trying to find them and bring them today.
Oh dear, okay, right. Enough of that rubbish. We're going to talk about what we're... Sorry, darling?
The suited you. The shoes.
The shoes?
Yeah, the suited you.
Oh, they might have suited me, but they didn't fit. Right, we've got to work out where we are. So I guess this is right click for... No?
Should be.
Top button, John.
Oh. That's right, top button.
Yes, no, these two here, that and that.
All right, okay. Not doing it. Oh, there we go. Yeah, 2020 hindsight. Now, I often use the title 2020 hindsight because it's pretty easy to talk about what happened in the past, providing it's all true, isn't it? So it's never a problem to make up a little chat if you're going to talk about something that's actually happened to you. Okay? So 2020 hindsight, and this is, if you like, what's happened to me, right? Now, how did I start? Now, amazingly, I started exactly the same as everybody here. Just like that. Okay? Just like that, knew nothing. Okay? Yeah. And that's just to make the point that we all start off the same foot. Right? And as it was mentioned by Jane a minute ago, 20 years of self-employed and I need £1,000 a month. Why did I do that? I'd been successfully self-employed for 20 years. In that, whatever I did as being self-employed, one way or another, made me a living. Never earned me a lot of money, but it made me a living. The last thing I did as being self-employed, I had a hotel. It wasn't a very big hotel. It was 25 rooms or something of that sort of order, but it made me quite a lot of money. When I sold it, I invested that money into property, the idea being that I would live on the rental. You know, the rental would pay the mortgages and the appreciation of the properties would be my pension fund. Well, I went out to play golf one morning and when I went out I had 5 mortgages and the interest rate was 6%. I came back after 18 holes and the interest rate had gone up to 9%, and then I played the other 18, and when I came back from that 18 the interest rate was 16%. So for those of you who've got mortgages now, just think what would happen if your interest rate went up from 6 to 16% in one day. Okay, I went out broke, went out solvent, came home broke. Okay, now it's not that I never had any money. I was never in Alison's situation of owing over £250,000. I was never broke, but I had assets but no money. And that's why I needed £1,000 a month. So I went off to find out what I could do. And I discovered network marketing. And I discovered, the first network marketing company I discovered was called National Safety Associates. Anybody been in it? NSA? Yep. 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 There you go. A few of you about. Well, I was in NSA for 14 minutes. Okay? And those who were in SA will know this can be true. I went to a business opportunity type meeting, I signed up, and after I signed up they told me I needed, I think it was £1,200 to buy samples, or puppies as they call them. And I tore the contract up there and then. So I was actually in NSA for 14 minutes, and rather like a jilted lover, I came out of NSA and bounced straight into Amway. Okay, well, I'd never heard of network marketing before, and yet within 2 days I was in 2 network marketing organisations. Now, I didn't succeed with Amway in terms of finance. I was in Amway for 14 months. I think it cost me 1,400 quid overall. I made a little bit of money, of course, you know, 30, 40 quid here, but all their meetings were very expensive, and you had to buy book of the month and tape of the week and all that sort of caper, right? And I think it cost me about 1,400 quid, but I never ever regretted spending that time with Amway, because one thing Amway did have, they had a very good educational program, and they, not necessarily always telling the truth, but they told you how it worked. Okay? So I learned a lot about network marketing, and after 14 months in Amway I decided to look around and find out which of the network marketing organisations fitted what I believed to be the bill. And that's when I found Clean Easy. Okay, so I discovered Clean Easy. As far as I'm concerned, never looked back. All right. Now, I've been in Clean Easy 20 years, and I still believe that if you sat with me when I joined and you did exactly what I did, you would now be earning what I'm earning, and you'd have got to the levels in the business that I'm in. Okay? I really believe that. Okay? So if you had sat next to me, what would you have to do, right? If you did exactly what I did and continued doing that, you'd be where I am now, all right? Okay, now we go on to this thing now. None of you have ever seen this graph before, have you? Right, the point is, have you looked at it from one particular point of view? That little furry circle down there is where most people live, or lots of people live. Right? Now, if you look at where that circle is, there's no left-hand scale and there's no base scale either. All right, but if you look at that, that is about 2 notches up the left-hand scale and 2.5 notches along the base scale. Now, it doesn't matter what the scales are, but the thing that they miss is if they've been in 2.5 units, if they were to stay in for another 2.5 units, they'd be there. And they'd be earning about 4 times as much as they were there. But even more, if they hung about for 1 more unit, they would be there, which if you come across is about 10 or 11 times that. They get out at the wrong time. They just don't stay with the business long enough. So everybody talking about consistency and persistency earlier on is absolutely correct. Now, I hadn't spoken to Stuart Hurd about today and what we were going to talk about, but funnily enough, I'm going to show you 2 graphs just like Stuart did, okay, and just see how similar in a way that they are. When I got into the business, that is my first 14 months. Okay? Accurately plotted. And down here, there's a big dip that comes down to 0 in December, because at that point, Clean Easy closed for 3 weeks completely at Christmas. The office shut, no deliveries, couldn't speak to anybody, nothing. Couldn't place an order, nothing. So Christmas was always pretty much 0. Okay, apart from that, it was on this exponential curve as far as I could see. Absolutely fantastic. That's what I thought. And what happened immediately after that? What happened immediately after that is, here's Stuart's graph. It's exactly the same as Stuart's graph. All right? There's the first bit we looked at. And then what happened? It plateaued like that. Okay? Now, again, just like Stuart and Robin, this level of income here, bronze exec level, was livable. It was a good income. It was okay. And I guess the reason is exactly the same as this. Without intending to do so, foot must have come off the gas. You know, less effort put in, stop pressing because it was comfortable. Exactly the same as Stuart. Now, during this time here, from that peak there to that peak there, is 20 periods. Right? Now, during that 20 periods, I was speaking to my upline, Bob Webb, many, many times, like every day. And I said to him, I was very unhappy about this, just wasn't growing, what we're going to do about it. And he said to me something that he's always said and he continues to say. He says that when you get to a position like that, if you carry on doing what you're doing consistently and persistently, sooner or later you will achieve where you, the original level, and you will exceed that original level. Now, I had really no reason to believe him, other than he was earning more money than me. And so I did exactly that. I stuck with it. But during this period here, do you think at any time I considered quitting the business? Every bloody day. Okay? Now, fortunately, I didn't. I didn't quit the business. I stayed with it consistently and persistently. And then this is the next graph. What happened after that? Now, this is the bit you've just seen. If you can see that, that's the bit you've just seen. And all of a sudden, up there like that. And I'll just get the next slide out of the way quickly while some of you are standing up because you can't see the bottom of the screen. The next one is that's where I stopped keeping the graph because I ran out of graph paper. I kept it religiously on the side of a filing cabinet, and it started off on a 3-door filing cabinet, then a 4-door, and then a 5-drawer filing cabinet, and then I got no more space, so I stopped keeping it. Right? Doesn't matter because it's unimpressive after that. That's the impressive bit, right? Now, you have to ask the question, don't you? What happened? What happened at that point where it suddenly went off? Okay, well, there are a few things happened. Firstly, I had a dormant leader that woke up. Now, you'll all get dormant people who come in and they'll, for the want of a better word, they'll ponce about with the business and just do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And then sooner or later something might change and it will drive them to get on with it. Now, I had this fella who joined my business quite early on. He was about the 4th or 5th person that came into my business. And he did nothing for 2 years, maybe a bit more, apart from a little bit of retail. Then he broke his leg. And he broke his leg quite badly so that he was actually in plaster from his waist to his ankle, and he couldn't obviously get mobile. And he phoned me up and he said, I've broken my leg and I can't get out, but I'm sure you'll be pleased to know I've made a decision. And this is something that is always coming to mind in Clean Easy. If you want to do something, you make a decision to do it. When you've made the decision, you're halfway there. He said, I've made the decision, I'm going to sponsor on the telephone from my bed. So he got on with it. And after about 3-4 months, he phoned me up and he said, sure you'll be pleased to know, I'll get my plaster off tomorrow and I'll be out and about. And I said, you just stay where you are. I'm coming down to Swansea, Llanelli, where he lived. I'm coming down to Llanelli to break the other bloody leg. Because he'd been so successful sponsoring on the phone out of his bed. He went on to become an SED. Okay, and then we found another leader. Found a bloke called Bob Dalton, who within days, weeks, found a guy called Mike Bibby. Michael Amanda Bibby. Right? So 2 leaders came into my business quite quickly. And that is what happens. If you come across and work with and get and with the right people, your business will go absolutely potty. Right? And once it does, I wouldn't say you lose control. You do really lose control. You have no control over what is going to happen in your business. It will grow, whatever. and you have no control over where it grows or how it grows to some degree. You can keep on putting support in. And I applied myself to supporting my team to the best of my ability by putting on various functions and producing all sorts of bits of paper and training manuals and all sorts of stuff, right? And that's what I applied myself to. So that's what sort of happened at that point. This, though, is the most important thing I did. I stopped working with people that hadn't earned the right. In layman's term, don't work with the tossers, okay? Because you will get plenty of those. Anybody ever had any? You can't afford the time and the effort to put into people who don't want to get off their butt and get on with the business. You don't have to sever relations with them completely, but you can always say to them, look, I'm prepared to work with you if you are prepared to work with me, and this is what I expect you to do. You know, various groups have got various things that they like people to do, but it might be, oh, you must come to our local meet. You must go to your local business opportunity meeting if there is one, or open evening, or you must go to your millionaires or your rally or whatever it happens to be in your group. It may be that you've got to show me you can do the job, and you've got to do 10% personal retail or 13% personal retail. And if you do those things, then I'll work with you. Okay? So you can set some rules, if you like. But you can't work with people who just rely on you to build the business for them. That is not the way to go about it. Okay? So if you had sat with me, if you had sat down with me on the day that I joined, what would you have to do? What would you be doing with your time? Well, that's the first thing you'd have to do. You'd have to give every waking moment to Clean Easy, because that's what I did. Now, all the books on building businesses and so on will tell you that's wrong. They will all tell you you've got to have the correct mixture of working for your business and working for working with you and being with your family. The right mix of family and business. Now, I didn't do that, so I got that wrong. But at the point when I started Clean Easy, I'd been married 35 years. And I knew what my missus could put up with and what she couldn't. Right. So I was prepared to give every waking moment. My kids were not fully grown, but yeah, I suppose they were fully grown. Yeah, they must be. It's only 20 years ago. My son's 51 now. That's easy to forget, isn't it? Yeah, right, okay. So my kids were grown up, so it was just Jeanette and I knew Jeanette would stand this. Didn't like it, but I knew she'd put up with it. So I used to get up in the morning and I would start my Clean Easy business. And I would work at it all day. And when I went to bed at night, I'd be just writing out my to-do list for what I was going to do the next day. All bloody day. Right? Not 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Okay? So that's what you'd have to do. So I was a bit stupid that way, if you like, right over the top. But that's how it was. You'd have to make some sacrifices, which I certainly did. And to be with me, you'd have to make those sacrifices. For example, you'd have to give up things that get you nowhere. Right? You'd have to give up watching TV. I gave up playing golf. I didn't mind giving up playing golf, because I was no bloody good at it anyway. And the more I played, the worse I got, so it didn't really matter. You know? I did get upset about giving up snooker and pool, though, because prior to Clean Easy, I was in chemical engineering in South Africa, and I played snooker on a full-size snooker table every day for 11 years. And if you do that, you get good at it. And so one of my goals, by the way, was to have a house big enough to have a full-size snooker table and enough room around it to properly enjoy it. That means the room's got to be about as big as this one. Okay, so it's got to be a pretty substantial sort of room. And I wanted that. Now I can afford to do that. Can't see the bloody balls anymore. Which is another reason why if you want something badly enough, you've got to get on with it and do it now before it's too late. Okay? Right. So that's what I did. Live, eat, sleep, and dream clean easy. All right? Now, these are some things you will not do. You will not sit in front of your computer all day. All right? Now, this is one of the major problems we've got in the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years of Clean Easy, is the advance of technology as such that people now think they can do everything sitting in front of a box on their desk and looking at this monitor. And they don't have to get up, and they don't have to do anything. You can't do that. Quite interesting, because Alison's first words when she stood up this morning were, she does it all over the telephone. That may be a bit out of context, but that certainly used those words in that order. All over the telephone. The way to build a clean, easy business, in my opinion, is by speaking to people and meeting people and talking to them personally, because they join you, they don't join Clean Easy. They've never heard of Clean Easy. They don't give a tuppenny toss who the MD is, so it makes no difference whether it's Jamie Stewart or whether it's, I don't know, Jimmy Carr. Right? they don't care, they don't ask, and they don't know who the MD is. That doesn't matter. It's you they join. All right? So you've got to get to know them to a degree. Okay? So you can't sit in front of your computer all day. What's next? Can't remember. Oh yeah. You spend a lot of time speaking and meeting new people, and you talk to them with a view to them joining. That's how you do it. Okay? You've got to hit it off. If you hit it off with people, not only will they join, they'll hang about. They won't run away. Now, this is me. Not everybody does this. And if your sponsor says it's not the way to do it, then you do it the way he says. But as far as I'm concerned, you need to get something in that person's hand so that he's got something tangible. To my mind, an email's no good. A video link's no good because it's too easily ditched. You can't get hold of it. You haven't got it. I always try and make sure that that person has something tangible. And if they've got something tangible, I think that helps a hell of a lot. Now, I don't know whether the video setup is working or not. Oh, brilliant. So we can just stop and you can run it.
Yeah, just try.
Okay.
We're going to try it anyway, John.
That's all right. So those of you who haven't seen it,
Paul's going to do it.
Paul's going to do it. Right, here's a 40-second video clip which, to my mind, brings to you exactly why it's important for you to have something in your hand.
Volume, Dad.
Emma.
Can't do it unless I.
Emma. 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 Emma.
And it's called Paper Is Not Dead. It's on YouTube. Just put in Paper Is Not Dead, you'll find it. Okay. You can't hold a sensible conversation with anybody by text, email, Twitter or Facebook. So don't ponce about all day on Facebook. Who gives a tuppenny toss what you had for breakfast? Okay. Just get real. How do I see the future? Well, we have a new and vibrant, experienced head office team who plan to make this business rock. I'm forced by contract to mention the 11th of May. Right? And you will all be appreciative of what is going to be made available to you on the 11th of May. The thinking of the team is exciting, innovative, and it's practical, and they are with us. All right? They are with a significant change in the thinking at HQ, and you're going to see it on the 11th of May. You've got to be at the ICC. Understand, since I'm in Scotland, I may be allowed to say this, because it's a long way down to Birmingham, not everybody's going to be able to get there. I understand it's going to be streamed to a hotel in Falkirk. So I don't know the details of that, but I'm quite sure.
We'll give them it then.
Sorry?
We'll give them it then.
Yeah, okay, right, wonderful. Don't forget that on the 11th of May, it's your future that will be revealed, okay? Your future that is going to be revealed. So it's important you get hold of all the information that is given then as soon as you can, by whichever possible way that you can. Thank you very much indeed, folks. That's it.
Isn't it funny?